Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Mainhart, and I am the Outreach Coordinator here at the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today we are going to be speaking with Mike Ruth, who is an attorney mediator here with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And many people going for divorce, since nobody has ever researched it, kind of tend to look at, well, what is the cost going to be? And in the short term, you can probably find a number of what I would call the economy versions, just like the economy version of a car rental. But in the long term, for the rest of your life, your financial life, your legal life, your children's lives, it may not be the best option. And therefore, you should probably look at getting the best value for the dollars that you do spend. So welcome, Mike, and I'm pleased to have you here today with us. And tell us a little bit about how to seek out the best value rather than cheap, easy, fast, and maybe not so great.
Well, the program that we offer here at the Alpha Center is comprehensive. We offer a parenting mediator, a meeting with a tax mediator. With myself, you sit down and you work through your financial difficulties, like your assets and your debts, and we look at the distribution of them. So what we try to do is that we try to cover all the legal and financial basis when you're getting into your divorce. Mm-hmm. If you decide to just go for that divorce document, that's basically all you get is a divorce document that says you're divorced. It doesn't address some of the other issues such as custody for your kids or, how you're going to divide things financially.
Okay. So but a lot of people are not going to quite understand this. And so they're going to look at, cutting corners, so how do they avoid that? What are some of the pitfalls of, cutting corners with like the cheap alternative divorce?
Well, you leave out those major issues. Like I said, when you cut corners and get into your divorce, all you get is that divorce decree, which basically doesn't solve a whole lot of your problems. You still have, if you have children, you have to think of them. You have to think of the custody, between yourself and your spouse. Important things like that. And sometimes we think that our verbal agreements that we have with that other party are going to hold up. But people change down the road. Situations might change. In a year from now, a person might not abide what you thought that you agreed to. So here at Alpha, we take into consideration all those things and put them into this settlement agreement that normally, for the most part, in fact, I think our statistics are roughly maybe 0.5% of our settlement agreements actually end up getting contested in court. But for the most part, we provide you that protection, both legally and financially.
Right. So everyone has kind of thought everything out and all of the questions have been addressed so that there's no surprise later, right?
Right. And that's, and partly like you said, that's definitely something that we're trying to avoid is those surprises down the road. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to think that they might get stuck by the opposing party. But at least when you come in here and you work through this mediation process or program with Alpha, you guys are both crafting this agreement. You're both coming up with ideas and combining those together to put them into this document. So you're both protected on down the road.
Right. And how about like a person's financial future? I mean, it's one thing to just separate what you do have, but then how do you live on, what the new arrangements are?
Well, that brings up a good point because one of the other features of our program is that we ask you to kind of look at the budget. Once you've done that financial division, we work through a budget worksheet with you. So you kind of look at what you're dealing with moving forward. And then on top of that, you have an opportunity to sit down with one of our financial consultants. And they kind of give you some ideas on how you can save money here, change things here. And what we're trying to do is just put you on firm financial ground, once you're through this thing.
It sounds like there's a lot of education that goes on during the whole mediation program, from legal to financial to, the children, et cetera, so that people are perhaps a little more, feel a little bit more like they're on firmer territory when the decree finally comes through.
I think one of the common misconceptions that people have is that all they need is that divorce decree. So they run off to the first attorney, that they see, and they think that's what they're getting into, but that's not the case, because there's a lot of things that have to be settled. I mean,
Mhm.
you are a partner with this person for a while. There's children involved, there's assets involved, there's debts involved. So those things need to be addressed as well.
Right, and so that gives them an opportunity to, make perhaps, from Alpha's point of view, a more educated decision than if you were just doing the TurboTax variety of divorce.
Right, right.
So,
You're definitely going to have some professionals, helping you out with that. It's not just going to be a do it yourself on the screen sort of plan.
right, it sounds like you really have a navigator that is going to make sure you don't like fall off the cliff or fall off the boat or whatever it may happen, so that you go out into the world a little more prepared.
Right, and that's what I tell a lot of my clients, is that I'm kind of the guide. I'll give you all the legal background that you need in order to make these decisions, but ultimately through our mediation program, you're the two parties are going to be the ones making these decisions.
And
I'm just
that's
guiding you along the way, not to fall into any of
mhm.
those traps.
Right, and so that gives them the opportunity to, I guess, kind of craft that agreement between the two of them without having a court decision, rendered, or a master, saying, okay, everybody can't agree, so here's what we're going to do, because typically at that point, nobody's happy about the decision.
Right, and the other side is that you really have no idea what that judge might determine um, in that situation. As I keep coming back to, ultimately the two parties make the decision in the mediation process. We're trying to take out that adversarial approach.
Oh, and that's great. That's great, because I'm sure that, that helps everybody move on, and it probably also helps the family unit be still a good family.
Right, and these unfortunately through litigation, the marriage is already fractured a little bit when you're coming in here and looking for a resolution. If you go that litigation route and start creating more of this adversarial relationship, it just creates more fractures in the family, which can hurt the children as well.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Mike, for joining us today and kind of going through what we're going to consider part one of, this whole idea of how you decide to get divorced, and what are your choices, and what are the positives, and what are the dubious, situations. So in any case, thank you today, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, Barbara.